Hello, folks. Welcome to We Demoted Mitch Monday. Quite possibly one of the most exciting shows we have done because we demoted Mitch. But we also do have lots of other things to talk about besides just the Georgia victory. We're going to start off with a discussion about, insurrection. Seems like that's topical and an important issue to delve into. We're gonna hear from our friend Doug Price, who's got kind of an opinion piece he's doing for us. He hasn't dug as deeply into numbers this week, more just some ideas that we think are really important to share with y'all. And yeah, it's gonna be a great show. I'm glad you've tuned in. Thank you for joining us. We know you've got a lot of websites to choose from out there on the internet, and we're glad you've picked this one. Wherever you're watching this. And just to be clear, you can watch this anywhere. You can even just listen to it. We're a podcast. Did you know that we're on Apple Podcasts, the big podcast platform? So if you're listening to this right now, you should go give us a review or a like or something like that. I think that drives, how high we show up in the thing. I don't really know. But on your screen of where you're picking your thoughts, the more you say we're good, you'll share it with other people. So I don't actually know that we are good, but you're here with us. You're enjoying the ride, right? So yeah, give us a thumbs up or whatever that looks like on that platform. But we're also, we're on Spotify, we're on the Google Play, we're on all of them. Plus some I've never even heard of that I found us on. Thank you, Anchor. Anchor does a really good job. If you are in the mood to start a podcast, I do recommend Anchor. It makes it pretty easy for you. So, but as we start off our show, of course, want to hear from our amazing co-hosts. And as you know, we start every show. This is a digital demonstration against Mitch McConnell. This is not just some talking heads talking politics. We're activists, people. We want you to be active. And what does your sign say today? Because we're at a protest, you got to bring a sign. Don't be the guy that shows up without a sign. I've been that guy, and you don't want to be that guy. So I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, the southeast side of Lexington, and my sign says today, "Don't take democracy for granted." I think the news of the week should underscore that for all of us. I'm going to throw it over to Kimberly. Actually, no, not Kimberly. I think we have a supermodel with us today. I don't know.
No, I was like, who is this queen?
Do not listen to this show on a podcast. You need to watch this one because Kimberly has turned it up to 11 to join us.
Wow, she was already at 10, but now boom.
From 10 to 11. She's off the scale. Kimberly, what is going on?
Well, today I was a makeup artist by trade. And so I said, well, let me try to see if I even know how to put on makeup anymore because the COVID, nobody's been wearing absolutely anything. Plus you're wearing a mask, you can't see the lipstick work. So my sign says today, get rid of Trump now.
Yes. Yes. I'm all in for that one right now.
Oh, bless it. I concur. Okay, I guess it's my turn. Sean, I mean, I'm not wearing makeup. This is just me and some Vaseline on my lips. That's what you get. So, but here, everybody. Hey, everybody. I'm Denise Gray. I'm coming to you from the north side of Lexington. And my protest sign says, get this, this is America. period. So, so which leads me, I guess I'll keep it moving, right?
Keep it moving. Let's do it.
Keep moving.
Show to do.
Yeah, we do have a show to do. So Mitch in the news. Let's do it. So as we saw, violent insurrection in the Capitol leads to threats of violence here in Kentucky. So as we all know, last week on January 6th, Trump ignited his followers to attend his Stop and Steal. Is that the correct word? Stop the Steal, whatever, rally in DC to siege the U.S. Capitol while Congress was certifying the Electoral College results. So in Trump's speech, he focused on convincing his followers that the Vice President Mike Pence and other what he termed to be weak Republicans could change the election results. At the rally, we saw that, Rudy Giuliani, who was once coined by Time magazine in 2001 to be America's mayor, who has now sadly lost that sparkle that he once had by being Trump's attorney. Well, at this rally, he urged those followers, the trumpeters, that what they could do is a trial by combat to change the results. And as a result, we had one officer who is Brian Sicknick and 4 other radicals, domestic terrorists, die at the Capitol at the hands of fellow domestic terrorists who took upon the Capitol, who wanted to overthrow those weak Republicans. They wanted to hang Vice President Mike Pence, and also they were looking for Nancy Pelosi. And over the weekend, we had an officer die by suicide as a result of everything that took place last week. After Capitol security forces were able to push the insurgents, isn't it wild that we're calling our own fellow Americans insurgents? Push them out of the building. Mitch McConnell condemned the treason, at the very least. He condemned the violence and shamed the rioters for their attempted coup, and to shut down those baseless lies that he has long been helping to fan the flames. Play that film.
Debating a step that has never been taken in American history, whether Congress should overrule the voters and overturn a presidential election. President Trump claims the election was stolen. The assertions range from specific local allegations to constitutional arguments to sweeping conspiracy theories. Dozens of lawsuits received hearings in courtrooms all across our country. But over and over, the courts rejected these claims, including all-star judges whom the president himself has nominated.
So you all, those words were needed at the time. However, as stated in the Lexington Herald Leader's editorial section, it's a little too late. Mitch McConnell defended the Electoral College results on behalf of the United States population because, one, his hand was forced by Donald Trump. At this point, he had no option but to stand up for the people that he is slated to protect, which he has failed time and time again over his tenure. But history will show that his what he's doing at this particular time. The attempted insurrection of America. That's what we watched on January 6th. You know, and you all, let me hear what you all have to say, because I love to hear what your viewpoints, and I'll carry on with the next story. But what do you all think about those the terrorist attack on us and on our leaders that we have elected to lead us in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of words are thrown around, right? So sedition, insurrection, treason, people have thrown that. And I think the reality of it is, is we've got this like sore losers club, right? That have been fed this enormous lie by the president that he had a historic landslide election that has been stolen from him, right? So that's the overall message that they've been hearing nonstop since before the election. And so there are a lot of people who are in this kind of insulated bubble where they get their information from like Newsmax and OAN, because Fox is too, Fox isn't strong enough for them now because Trump has told them, right? So Trump has also told them, like, from day one, it's all fake news. You can't listen to it. I'm the only one you can believe. So now he set this thing up incredibly well so that our fellow citizens have been fed this garbage and are believing it, right? And it's like, you see it everywhere, like whether it's climate change, whether it's the pandemic, there's just this like, oh, my wholly ill-informed opinion about something is just as valid as your fact-based, well-researched, documented reality. Like, and that's just not the way it works, right? But when you've got your leader telling you everything's fake news, even when they adhere to journalistic standards, and even when it's Republican election officials who are like swearing up and down the vote was legit, and even though judge after judge, as you heard Mitch just say, right, all-star judges, because they're all on the bench because Mitch and Trump were in cahoots to get them in there, right? They all said, there's no there. You can't, no, this is a real election. It's free, it's fair. You need to stop. And no one, they didn't say it till too late. Mitch didn't say it till too late. All these enablers in the Senate, 8 of whom still stuck to their guns after they were, forced to flee into an undisclosed location, still came back and voted against accepting those election results. Like, and
it's shocking also that Senator, is it Hawking from Missouri?
Howling,
who was campaigning in the midst of all this terrorist attack. He made it into an opportunity to solicit money from his from the base, I guess, whatever the base of the Republican Party is now. There's a lot of demons going on within that party, and the party itself is complicit on where we are today as the United States. They were silent when Trump began this rodeo. We had Senator Lindsey Graham, who we have posts on Twitter that states where he stated that, if Trump is our president, then we will end up in a civil war or something to that effect, he said in his tweet. However, he decided to walk hand in hand with Trump throughout these 4 years. He signed up, he signed on. We have also Ted Cruz, who has been one of the biggest instigators after Trump talked about his wife, you all. We all know that you don't talk about anybody's mom or their significant other. Those are fighting words. And he said, hey, that's okay. And decided to team up with him. And here we are today. Kim, did you want to add anything?
Yes, it's definitely the Republicans' problem. What are they saying right now? A hiccup to the party. However, you're right. They did actually allow this to happen. But when I saw this on the TV in real time, I was numb. in shock, didn't know what to feel. I still don't know exactly what to feel, because the obvious is just basically very, very painful. I believe that what happened was to also show the white supremacy, the white privilege.
Yes.
I also look at it and see, against different other protests that I have participated in, as well as what I have seen on the tube, the difference, and why weren't the Capitol Police prepared and ready? These are questions that definitely need to be answered ASAP. And speaking about democracy, it's broken. It's broken. The Republicans and Donald Trump allowed this particular situation to happen, but a lot of these people have been preparing for a civil war. They have been preparing to an attempted coup for quite some time. So I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised at all, because I know that if I try to climb the walls of the Capitol or go into the Capitol, defecate in the Capitol,
Wow.
all of these things in the Capitol, I would not be sitting right here able to talk to you guys. I would be 6 feet under.
Exactly. The fact that, I forget about that smearing of feces, the stealing of government property from our Capitol. Black Lives Matter, they weren't able to stand still. There's been accounts at some of the protests, because they were protests, where the police officers made them continuously march in circles, and if they stopped, they would be arrested. However, these people in Washington, D.C. were readily able just to hop over the barricades. No police there, no National Guard there, no CIA there, no snipers there. It's just all shocking and alarming on every single thing. But on January 6th, the veil was removed. There is no way that any person in the United States, around the world, can say that, one, that we don't have a racial issue, that we don't have a bias issue, that we don't have a criminal justice issue, that we don't have just issues. It was removed that day. But I will, and one other thing, and then I'll move on with the next story, is that, we had, although that Mitch McConnell is calling out Trump right now, during the whole electoral process, he had ads where he said he stood with Trump. We have my former opponent, Ralph Alvarado, who stood hand in hand with Trump Jr., Trump, and Trump Sr., stood hand in hand. These people, they are all complicit as far as I'm concerned. And we all should hold these people that we elect accountable for their actions and their willingness to go silently along when we have elected them to step out and lead on our behalfs. So moving on. Most Americans reject the attack on the Capitol, believe it or not, but millions of Trump supporters, go figure, they empathize with the insurrection. Play the clip, please.
I was out there and the Capitol Police never asked us to leave. There was no megaphone saying, please move off these premises. There was no one asking us to do anything. But instead, the police were holding a line, and every now and then they would throw a flash bomb or tear gas into the crowd unannounced. And they weren't asking us to leave. It was not clear what was asked of us.
That was shameful. Absolutely shameful. Not the violence, not the violence. It was not that, although I don't condone it, and it was bad, and I'm sorry about what happened. But the way those Congress people and senators treated us, the way they treated us, it was shameful.
But I think the Constitution and the way things played out was the way it was set out to be. And I feel like President Trump did not interfere with the process.
So you all that is how people around the United States feel, who sympathize and empathize with what Trump stands for. Many people who hear people say, when they hear these statements, I've heard people have informed me they thought they were talking about people who have actually been oppressed here in the United States, such as Black people, when they say these things, but when they look at the TV, they realize, oh my gosh, they're talking about Trump and people who have had a privilege their entire life that only I could dream of. But moving on, here in Kentucky, still convinced that the presidential election was stolen from Trump, this past Saturday, there was a protest of what the Lexington Herald Leader calls armed protesters who gathered outside the Kentucky state capitol to be quote unquote heard by Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and Andy Beshear.
Basically, this event is called the Patriots Rally. So if you've been following, I've been following like all these different groups, United Kentucky, Kentucky State Militia, Constitutional Kentucky, and they basically these are the folks that have been putting on these rallies here at the Capitol.
And then we're gonna turn the ball loose, guys. We're gonna tear it up. I'm not gonna say the other word. We might tear it down, if you get my drift. I can't say the other word, but I'd like to.
I just want to say thank you to Gerry Seavo, James, for that video that he took there in Frankfurt over the weekend. He was in a place where I definitely wouldn't have been, for sure. And he stood up there to make sure that we could see what was taking place. So sincerely, a thank you to you. I'm just curious from that video, what's the other word that gentleman was talking about that he was afraid to say? I want to know what the other word is. And what I found interesting is that at no point did these individuals honor the life of Officer Schicknick, who died, who was basically killed, murdered on January 6th, or reprimand the actions that were handed against other officers at the Capitol. However, and so much for Blue Lives Mattering. When I say Black Lives Matter, I mean it. And when I say Blue Lives Matter, I mean it. So it's very alarming to me that these individuals who proclaim to actually care about the lives of our officers, what they did instead was this, you all. Instead of showing any kind of concern or reaching out, they did recognize someone. Guess who that was? That was domestic terrorist Ashley Babbitt. She who, in her own words, said the following things: "Nothing will stop us. They can try and try and try, but the storm is here, and it is descending upon DC." And if you do recall, this lady died but because she failed to follow officers' orders, and she attempted to lunge into a protected area inside the Capitol. So instead of talking about or putting out a concern for the people that we should actually be concerned about, the people who quote unquote were protesting in Frankfurt cared more about a domestic terrorist than the lives that their party proclaims to care about. And I do care about police officers, and I'm very upset that we have lost yet another police officer at the hands of a criminal. So she said the storm was coming, but really and truly, there is a long violent history of these quote unquote patriot groups committing violent crimes, such as, we've heard from Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombings back in the 90s. It turns out that we also should be on alert because guess what? The FBI has put out a memo that suggests that there will be possibly in all 50 states armed protests that will be taking place. So we should all be on watch because it's getting real, you all. So be safe out there. This intimidation is not who we are. We are people who stand up for one another. We are people who believe in the Constitution when it says we the people. It isn't talking about each and every single one of us, not a particular group. When we go out to vote in November, we know that our elections are certified, and these are the truths that we need to stand on. We need to stand up when we hear folk who speak in a violent manner, in a divisive manner. We don't stand and walk hand in hand with someone who refuses to read the book, someone that claims to be a Christian and holds up a Bible and says Corinthians 1. You all, this is our job. We are the people, and we must hold each of our legislators, our public leaders accountable. And I'm calling on each of you all to hold Trump accountable. I'm calling on you to hold McConnell and Rand Paul accountable to ensure that they do their jobs and impeach Donald Trump. So, Aaron, what do you have to say?
Well, I say amen to that. We absolutely need to see McConnell do the right thing here. But what I want to just note is that it absolutely was there were Kentucky ties to this. You know, there were folks from Kentucky who were there. We had a list of individuals that we've just found out about through media reports. But 39 folks from a Martin County church. It wasn't an official church event, but, it was a big old group of church-going folks who had to go out there. Owensboro pastor Brian Gibson, this guy has a picture of himself with the Q shaman, the QAnon guy with the horns and the fur hat and the face paint. So apparently this Owensboro pastor met him at an earlier Trump rally. There's a bit of like a group of people, like groupies. They're like, the fish heads or whatever, like the deadheads. Like they follow Trump around for all his different rallies. We had Richmond City Commissioner Kristen Arnold, Greensboro, Kentucky Mayor John Michael Shuffett, Franklin County Sheriff Detective Jeff Farmer was there as well. So according to the Franklin County Sheriff, Farmer attended the rally after a letter was signed by 5 public defenders at the Franklin County Trial Office. They asked for a reevaluation of the deputy's role in the sheriff's department. The detective was then reassigned. I don't know who he's reassigned to, but I guess that means he's probably on a paid vacation while they try to figure out whether he was actively involved with any of the clearly illegal things that occurred. We also know that the Richmond mayor was quoted in news reports saying that the city attorney is looking at that city commissioner's involvement. Of course, the general response is that they're all just there for the rally. They didn't want to see the violence. One of the church group organizers was quoted, though, saying, "We came to stand for our republic, which we believe is at risk. The fate of our republic is at risk." That's why they were there. Some other people realized that, that doesn't sound very good. So like, we're just here to celebrate freedom. We're here for freedom. No, they were there to challenge the free and fair results of this election. They were there for the big lie. They were there to give more weight, more power to the garbage that Trump has been selling the world, that somehow his landslide election has been stolen from him. No, we got to put a stop to that. We can't just let people, spread these lies. And that, I guess, to me is like what is most sad about it. I have a little bit of empathy for people who've been in this echo chamber and have not been able to be, shook and loose. I mean, I would hope that the events of Wednesday would shake people loose. I think a number of people in Congress probably have been, because they were like shuffled to an undisclosed location while people were, being shot and rioting outside their, the pigeons came home to roost, right? And I think the people that were enablers got a taste that, yeah, maybe we went a little far out here. Of course, the people that, had never enabled Trump, the folks from our side of the political perspective are like, see, and they're, I don't think they're going to give up. I think Speaker Pelosi and the rest of the leadership on the Democratic side are incredibly committed to holding Trump accountable, which is fantastic. But I think, it's very troubling to me that, just yesterday, the UK men's basketball team kneeled, and now that's the most outrageous thing that's happening in kind of Kentucky politics right now, is that the UK men's basketball team dared to kneel during the national anthem, and that was so disrespectful. Like these people have just like completely ignored what happened last week, and the fact that apparently it's appropriate to kill cops in your protest, right? Like it is crazy town trying to see that there are people who this is not going to shake their deeply held, misinformed garbage beliefs, right? So that's, I got a little bit of sympathy, but I really, I'm so frustrated about what's happening. And I hope some people, are held accountable. Everyone who was inside the Capitol illegally needs to be held accountable. If you were just there for the rally, you were just there for, to spread a big lie. So I don't have a lot of, I hope that if you didn't break any laws, you don't go to jail. But I tell you what, the video of these folks trying to get on airplanes and realizing that they're now on the terrorist no-fly list, those insurrectionist tears are so sweet. They're going to have to pay some price, and I'm very glad to see it. So that's my take on the kind of Kentucky angle of those folks who've been involved.
Hey, Aaron.
I want to say that actually, whether it be Kentucky, Michigan, some other states around this great country of ours, or at the Capitol in DC, the fact remains, and I want to point this out as well, I have no sympathy and no empathy for these particular individuals, because, their freedoms. What freedoms are they talking about? Well, I want someone to tell me exactly what freedoms are they talking about that they're not getting. Excuse me. When Trump was elected in 2016, we didn't take to the streets and climb the Capitol building or climb the Capitol here in Kentucky. We didn't do those things. I mean, there were more murmurs and whispers of, Russia intervening, things of this nature, but we didn't act in that manner. We accepted it somewhat and continued to hold the so-called alleged president and Mitch McConnell. We held them accountable. So I'm really needing to know what freedoms, because from where I sit right now, and you guys know, I keep it 100%. I keep it all the way real. And what I want to say about that is, so some white folks can't go to the restaurant like they want to, and their cult leader, and they're listening to everything this cult leader says, and they're just going to go off and do it. So we need to backtrack a little bit and look at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and let's go on and on and on about leaders that said things, the right things, but we were wrong. They were assassinated. But you get a leader that's for the wrong thing, inciting riots, inciting death, and they're saying, well, our freedoms. I have no sympathy. I have no empathy. Actually, I'm wearing red today because I am fired up mad. I've had it up to here with these racist ass white supremacists, which is a psychosis, a mental disorder, saying that they don't have freedoms. They're upset about their freedoms. Come live in this beautiful chocolate body and see what you say about your freedoms.
And, also in Kentucky, they were, as Aaron mentioned, they were extremely upset about the UK basketball team taking a knee, kneeling at their game. And, people are more upset, as Aaron stated, about that. They're down in Eastern Kentucky. I've been hearing of a certain community down in Eastern Kentucky that has been burning the UK uniforms. My thing is this: are you also burning your Trump sign? Is that UK? Is the fact that those students, those young men, took a knee along with their coach and staff, took a knee, to show their support for the United States and everything that we stand for, the First Amendment right? Is that more important than our Constitution? Is them voicing their beliefs more important than a police officer being murdered at the hands of a domestic terrorist? It's people need to start checking themselves, especially when they use the name of Jesus Christ in their mission of saying they're a Christian, when everything that comes from them is hate. Check yourself, read the word, and get right with the Lord, because your actions speak vileness and everything that he is not for.
Absolutely.
But,
Amen.
exactly.
I mean, that was some of the most just outrageous and offensive images that I saw. Anything outside the Capitol, where those flags with Trump and Christians, like Christians there rallying for Trump. I'm pretty sure that that the big guy, the red letter guy, warned us in his Sermon on the Mount to protect ourselves against liars. Right. So a lot of
deceivers,
deception that Christians I think have just fallen for hook, line, and sinker, and they have been lied to, and they've gone along with it largely. So,
but it wasn't all bad last week.
There was some good news.
There was some good news. In fact, I was excited. I was tweeting and doing my happy dance. Hey Kim, what's that good news?
I'm going to tell you right now, the good news is that we have the majority of the Senate now. We did it. And once again, I just always have to give the most kudos to my sorority.
Oh, bless it.
Alpha Kappa Alpha.
AKAs.
38 minutes. So
and
38
I just
minutes
want to say that our beautiful leader, Kamala Harris, went back and forth to Georgia as well. And I know that my sorors down in Georgia were doing their part, but they weren't the only Black folk doing their part down there in Georgia. The mofo is gone. He's gone from the majority of his power. Now he's been demoted. So listeners and audience, give yourself a pat on the back, a hand clap, because we did it. Collectively, Georgia did it. As a country, we did it. So,
yay!
Woo! Go Georgia! Hey, go Georgia! Hey,
go Georgia! Go Georgia! Woo!
Exactly.
Go Georgia.
So, what I want to say right now is that those two corrupt GOP senators are now ousted. We can sing to them, hit the road, Jack, right? Because they're no longer involved and it's done. But how did it happen? If you don't know by now, you will never know. But this will be a chance for me to tell you once again, how did it happen? Once again, Black folks did the damn thing. We got out there. We were mobilized, organized.
Yes.
And we got all the way out there. So in Vox, there's an article called "The Phenomenal Black Turnout That Won the Senate for Democrats in Georgia. So, you know, more than any other factor, the high turnout from Black voters in Georgia's Senate runoff elections appeared to have won Democratic candidates, which are now about to be Democratic senators in Washington, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Their seats and their party control now the U.S. Senate. How does that feel, you guys? We've had Mitch McConnell for so long running stuff, and we haven't gotten anything done. But if we were in that upper echelon of the gazillionaires, we would be so happy for Mitch. But the rest of us got nothing from his leadership. So goodbye, good riddance. I think I'm going to throw him the greatest, most fabulous retirement party of being demoted. I think that would be great. That'd be great, like a little special or something. We can like just party and yeah, Mitch, you're gone, you're gone. So also in that, let me tell you just a little bit about how this exactly happened, a little bit of the stats, should I say. Need to put my glasses on there. The turnout was high in general. It was high in the general election, actually, and we hit more than 80% in the November election. But the turnout rates was slightly higher in the Democratic strongholds. That was north of 90% in general, and especially, of course, this is what Trump was upset about, predominantly Black districts. So these margins, especially in populous and heavily Black Fulton County, give a shout out to Fulton County, thank you so much, and DeKalb counties. Thank you so much. So we're decisive for the Democrats, of course. And Warnock's 50,000 vote lead is significantly larger than President-elect Joe Biden's lead, which was 13,000 people. So that just lets you know that we were out and we were doing it. And that shows the country, we do have power. And also, according to a CNN's exit poll, Black voters grew from 87% in the November general election to guess what? 92% in the runoff. And we were a little nervous. Were, you know, Black folks, were they going to get out again? Did they understand exactly how important this was? And Georgia was able to do what Kentucky couldn't do, and that was to demote Mitch McConnell. His power is now stifled. So we really want to give the kudos to the leader that actually got this to happen. Although she lost the gubernatorial campaign, she won Georgia for America. So we want to talk about Stacey Abrams and her campaign to turn Georgia blue over the last 4 years. But actually this plan of action has been in place and step by step happening for the last 10 years. So thank you, Stacey Abrams. Love you. Wish you were AKA, but we love you. Delivering Georgia. So we knocked on 2 million doors. Yes, this is how you get things done. We knocked on 2 million or more doors. We made 5 million or more phone calls, 3 million or more text messages to Georgia voters. And also, activists were rooted in other communities, such as the Asian American community and the Latino community. So I think Georgia can kind of help with some other states to get us, you know, the steady, you know, it might not be fast, but steady wins the race. So maybe Stacey will do like this tour and go from state to state to help us understand even more how to mobilize and organize your people to have a definite win.
It's huge. This is huge, right?
Very huge.
So impressed by that kind of long-term commitment to real organizing, right? Not the like 6-month election cycle organizing, but the long-term build your base, register your voters, engage and educate your voters, and get them out, right? So that was amazing. I think I'm just so impressed by was that the candidates they had, right? So initially, I think some people thought these were weak candidates, right? But as it went on, they were incredibly disciplined. They stuck to the smart messages, and they didn't ever back away from having a pretty progressive agenda, right? So that one, I think, that does raise some interesting questions. Informally read Georgia, where Democrats hadn't won a runoff race for the Senate since 2000? No, 92. 92 was the last time they'd won that type of a race. I think it's really amazing that Warnock and Ossoff were not Republican light candidates, right? They were progressive candidates who fought for progressive issues, and I think that does open up a big question about what's the approach of the the Democratic senatorial campaign as they're recruiting their candidates. Are they looking for folks who are unapologetic progressives, or are they looking for folks who are going to just try to get some support from the kind of more conservative side of the political spectrum? And that's clearly not what happened in Georgia. So,
but Georgia has, just like Kentucky, every state has its own personality. We shall see. But I love the fact that Stacey Abrams, my motto is seeds today, fruit tomorrow. And the fact that, Stacey Abrams, the Honorable Stacey Abrams, was planting seeds for those 10 years. And right now we are enjoying the beautiful harvest of delicious fruit that she's been planting for all those years. And here in Kentucky, we're all with like what we're doing here right now, Aaron, Kimberly, and Doug. We're planting fruit. We're planting fruit. We have other groups that are planting fruit, engaging populations that the Democratic Party has typically ignored. And hopefully, it won't be tomorrow. We sure wish it was going to be tomorrow, but sometime soon, and sometime in the future, hopefully we will have some democratic, progressive fruit that will prevail here in the state of Kentucky, in which we all deserve right now.
I hope we get to eat some of that fruit. I do. I would really like to eat some of that fruit. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, before I'm 80, that'd be great.
Well, keep on keeping on, though, folks. You got to keep doing that work, and we haven't done nearly enough. We've got a long row to hoe, keeping the agricultural, analogies going.
So we're hoeing. Okay.
So I think that's our Mitch in the news. It was an awful long one.
It was long.
Thank you for all that work taking us through. I mean, this is a historic story. It is worth a lot of time, talking about that insurrection in the Capitol. Kimberly, thank you for bringing us the good news. Now,
yes.
Throw it over. We're going to do our call to action, actually, I think. We kind of slipped it in, but I'm going to full stop, do this tomorrow. Call Mitch, call Rand, call your member of Congress, if that's Andy Barr, wherever you are, even if it's shouting into the void. Get those calls in. We cannot let the sitting president incite an insurrection without consequences. We just can't. I don't care if he's only going to be in office for another 2 weeks, or I don't care if he's going to be in 3 days. It doesn't matter. There needs to be a clear demarcation in history that he was held accountable for this. And I saw this on Twitter the other day. I thought it was very appropriate. I want everyone in the history books, or they're learning history, wondering why this random dude was president for 4 days, right? I want to see the asterisks in the history book, President Pence, and everyone's go, wait, why was this guy president for 4 days? It's that's because the guy he was a vice president to incited an insurrection. And we don't let that happen in the United States of America, because we're about democracy, right? We're not about totalitarian regimes. We're not about taking an election by force. We are about free and fair elections. So that's why I want to see this done. And I think there's a whole lot of folks who agree with us, we'll see what happens. It sounds like, I saw the 60 Minutes interview last night. Speaker Pelosi seems pretty committed to accountability. And don't tell me they can't get it done in 2 weeks. Mitch McConnell jammed through a wholly inappropriate Supreme Court justice in about 5 days. So we could absolutely get this done if the pressure remains, right?
And you can also, sorry to cut you off there.
Go ahead.
But, it's really easy to contact Senators Rand Paul and McConnell. You can just text like 4040409, the word impeach. And with that, they will automatically send out a letter on your behalf. And that is if you text 40409 and you just follow their directions, and you can send a letter directly to your senators.
Awesome. Yeah. So you make the phone call tomorrow. You can text them right now. Just make sure your voice is heard again and again and again until they do something to hold Trump accountable. So he can't run again in 2024. So he can't. I don't want to pay my tax dollars for his lifelong retirement. And it's like, what do they get paid? $200,000 a year, and they get like a security detail, and they get to travel. Like I don't want to pay for that for this like traitor. So at any rate,
plus he's wealthy anyways. He doesn't need our money.
Oh sure, yeah, he's wealthy. Yeah, he's wealthy. All right, so we are going to throw it over to Doug Price, our friend Doug Price, who has been waiting to share his opinion piece with us. Are we calling it Following Mitch's Money? I mean, it must be. This is like probably the last time we'll be doing this. Following Mitch's Money with Doug Price, weighing in on the news of the day. Throw it over to you, Doug.
I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route.
Okay, tonight I will deliver something different for my final Following Mitch's Money. My first installment happened way back in April 2020. A lot of water under the bridge since then. If you have not heard, we are changing our name from the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee to Progress Kentucky. As MMRC, we worked extremely hard to ditch Mitch. We certainly appreciate all of those who helped us in this effort. Ultimately, collectively, we failed in our effort, but fortunately, the good people of Georgia elected Democrats John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock to the U.S. Senate. Our Mitch will be delegated to being in the minority. I may periodically discuss Mitch's money, but my focus will be more about issues related to Progress Kentucky. I need to come up with something to replace FMM. I'm thinking PIN, Progressive Issues Now. But first, some parting shots at Mitch. His family income is going to change. On January 7th, his wife resigned as the head of the U.S. Transportation Cabinet. Was this due to the riots, or did she just not want to deal with having to vote on the 25th Amendment issue? She was making over $190,000 a year, as was Mitch. I think his salary will drop a little bit. He finally tried to distance himself from President Trump, but in my opinion, too little, too late. His failure to support the impeachment or removal of Trump will forever be a part of his legacy. He remained silent as President Trump tore down our country and only became concerned after the rioting in our capital. He wants the judicial appointments to be his legacy, but I believe history will reflect a different story. To deflect the current crisis, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell gave a speech on the Senate floor this past Wednesday, excoriating President Donald Trump and his congressional allies' plans to overthrow or to throw out the results of the 2020 election. This is a quote: "Nothing before us proves illegality of the massive scale that would have tipped the entire election, nor can public doubt alone justify a radical break when the doubt was incited without any evidence." Certainly, I think we can all agree with him on this statement, but after making that statement, he just had to blame the Democrats for their past behaviors. Did most of us learn that the "he did it first" does not work even when you're a child living at home? His speech continued. This election was not unusually close. The Electoral College margin was almost identical to what it was in 2016. If this election were overturned by the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral. Again, I think any semi-intelligent person would agree with this assessment. That is why we keep score in sports and in most other endeavors. There is a winner and there is a loser. Also, there are sore losers. Trump has not conceded his election, and I do not believe Raphael Warnock's opponent, David Perdue, in the Georgia race has congratulated the winner. There is no question that Mitch will have much less power, but going forward, there are things that we can do to help America. That includes working to vote out our Senator Rand Paul in 2022. We can vote out Andy Barr upon his next reelection. Given the fracture of the Republican Party, I believe this is a worthy goal, and perhaps many other states will follow suit and retire other politicians such as Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley. Like many others, I watched the horror that happened at the Capitol. Like many others, I shouted at the TV, my emotions ranging from anger to sorrow to almost crying. This was and continues to be a sad time for our democracy. We must move forward. Progress Kentucky will help us to do this. I am energized. We are energized. Be energized with us.
Make your money and go. Make your money and go. Take your money and go. Make your money and go. Make your money and go.
Thank you so much, Doug. That was great and right on and absolutely well stated. Really excited to be heading into the future as Progress Kentucky. We all know Kentucky needs to make some progress. And I think we've got some good ideas about how we're going to help make that happen. I did want to just take 1 second to recognize really quickly, we worked hard to retire Mitch. Didn't work out like we wanted it to. We didn't miss a beat. We switched the focus to keep the campaign alive and go after those Georgia Senate runoff races. And I just want to thank everyone that made contributions, everyone who made phone calls, everyone who wrote letters, all the different ways we could help out. I think we had some great content in the interim. We heard from the Georgia Indivisible Coalition. We heard from Sarah Rose at Georgia Public Broadcasting. So everything we could to kind of get informed and get involved and to stay supportive. And I want to thank everyone who took a role and did that, because the reason the turnout was so high is not because people are naturally predisposed to vote again right after they voted. It is because people made sure everyone was aware of that election. People worked really, really hard, and we give a lot of credit to the boots on the ground. But there's a lot of resources that flew into, kind of flowed into that state to help that happen. And I think we all need a pat on the back. So thanks everybody for your work. And I think we're going to close out the show. We went a little bit long. Sorry about that. Ken, you make a note of that. And we are. I'm going to throw it over to Kimberly to close this out tonight.
Bye, everybody. Love you.
Woo! Love you all. Thank you for tuning in.
Happy New Year.
Kimberly's closing.
Kimberly's closing.
Yes. I'm like, did we change something?
No.
Sure. But anyway, if you're not receiving the newsletter, I don't know what to say. You need to get the newsletter. If you're not getting the newsletter, it's all the information in there. Need to know. You can impress all your friends and your family with all of your knowledge from our newsletter. Yes, our newsletter. I can't call it the whatever newsletter because we don't have a name just yet, and we're counting on you for that. But DM us, direct message us on Facebook or Twitter, and we will get that newsletter started for you. You don't want to miss it, okay? And once again, every week, every week. Thank you to Ken at Couchfire Media. This particular company ignites multi-camera, live stream, fiction narrative, non-fictional, educational, informative, animation, and commercial video production content. Set your content on fire with Couch Media. Couch Fire Media. You can visit them at couchfiremedia.com. Once again, that's couchfiremedia.com. And also, as Miss Denise Gray said earlier today, text your phone to 40409 and then just put in there impeach, and you can follow all of the information that is asking you to have your letter sent to your prospective senator. So I'm going to be doing that as soon as I get off of this beautiful, wonderful podcast tonight. I'm going to be sending my letters out to Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell. So also, thank you, Nate. Every week, I love hearing his music. Sometimes I just go on his website just to hear his music. And you can see and hear more of his music, know him a little bit better at natosongs.com. At NATO Songs, that's NATO songs.com. So you can see more of that. So also, a lot of us, we do some things outside of this spectacular show. Nothing compared to this, may I say this to you. But first of all, our co-host, Miss Denise Gray, and she has Kentucky Conversations. I believe there was one last night? Okay. Focused on the Democratic Party's reorganization plan. Please tune in to see Miss Denise Gray. And you can watch the replay in case you missed it like me. I will be watching the replay on Bluegrass Activist Alliance on their Facebook page. So I can see my dear friend Denise Gray on there doing her thing. And starting this Sunday, the Jones Report will be back with Mike Breuer, which was a formal candidate for Senate, and Miss Betsy Foster, and of course myself, Kimberly Cecil Jones. So make sure that you're looking at us on the Jones Report radio program page, Facebook page, and it's at 1 p.m. every Sunday. And the big news is that the Mitch McConnell Retirement Committee, we need to change our name for our Monday night podcast. So we're looking to you to help us find this name. So some people have asked me, well, aren't you all going to call it Progress Kentucky? That's the actual organization, but we need the name for our podcast. So we kind of came up to, we kind of like this one. I know I'm feeling it. What about you? The Kernels of Truth. How about that on Monday night? Kernels of Truth. I can see that right now. Kernels of Truth. Yes. I am a Kentucky Colonel, as well as Mr. Doug Price. We got to get everybody else on board. Don't be jealous. Maybe we can get you on board too. So until then, send us in the comments, DM us, let us know a great name. And that person that comes up with the best name will receive a gift from us. What it is yet, I have not talked to the chairperson, Mr. Aaron. I just threw that out there. So we will have a great gift for you if we pick your name, right? Your name for the show. So until then, thank you to our beautiful, illustrious co-host, Denise Gray, our host with the most, Mr. Aaron Viles, always Mr. Doug Price with so much information and stats. And of course, we love Ken and we love Nate for the song. So until then, we'll see you next Monday.
The report we make is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the president and the vice president according to the ballots that have been given to us.